Welcome to the RRx HealthWatch, the right dose. Hello, my name is Bob Karzewski, and I am the host of this podcast series presented by Reality RX. This series offers insights and opinions from industry experts on timely topics of interest to healthcare marketers. We recruit these insights and opinions from clinicians, patients, marketers, and other thought leaders, delivering informative and provocative discussion on what's happening in the pharmaceutical, medical device, and healthcare industries. In this episode, we will be exploring how stress impacts our immune system and health. There is no doubt that life has become even more stressful for countless Americans over this past year. We're in the midst of a public health crisis, social upheaval, and parents have the added worry of whether or not to send their children back to school. The CDC recently released their mental health report for the COVID-19 period, and its findings are concerning. The evidence of trauma and stressor-related disorders, TSRD, associated with the ongoing pandemic is compelling. Over the past few months, mental health problems have risen nearly fourfold compared with the prior year. Americans are more anxious than ever, and clinical markers such as substance abuse and suicide ideation are on the rise. This is a particularly alarming trend in young adults and essential workers, where 1 in 3 people have considered suicide in the past 30 days. Now more than ever, it's important to understand how stress affects our health and how mindfulness may help. With us today is Barbara Montgomery. She is the founder and executive director of the Farmhouse Retreat and Wellness Center. She is a certified integrative holistic lifestyle medicine practitioner specializing in chronic degenerative disease, PTSD, women's health, age management, pediatric neurological organization and development, and orthomolecular medicine, with the goal of optimal wellness for each of us. Along with her individual consultation practice, Ms. Montgomery also teaches seminars on wellness and preventive care to community and corporate groups, as well as to all types of health professionals. She assists health professionals in integrating wellness protocols and education into their practices to support the best in healthcare for their patients and their practice goals. Do you want to add a little bit more to this background?
Well, thanks very much, number one, for having me join you on this podcast. It's very wonderful to be here. And I'm fascinated with interdisciplinary medicine. So integrating world medical traditions, of which I have a background in Tibetan medicine, Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, along with Western medicine, is something that we know is increasingly vital, especially now in the 21st century. And whether we call it functional medicine or holistic medicine or lifestyle medicine, we understand that all of these protocols are available and needed for acute and chronic health conditions, as well as for preventive care, which is something that I am really specialized in. Let's see if we can prevent things from happening. So there is this totality at play in the mind and the body. And of course, stressors are a very, very big effect on our lives in terms of our emotional health, our psychological, but as well as our physiological well-being. So all of these things, epigenetics, external and external pathogens, they all have a part to play, and we need everything possible to prevent disease, to maintain wellness, to intervene when needed, and then restore and rebuild. I believe that prevention is the best intervention, but sometimes that's not enough. And always, of course, it's based on good science.
Great. Thanks, Barbara. We appreciate you being here today. So, let's get started with some of the questions and information that, we'd like to hear from you and hear about some of the things that you're involved in. We hear a lot of discussion about how our immune system is important in fighting disease, and immune therapies are where many biotech and pharmaceutical companies are spending the most. So just what is our immune system?
Well, it is pretty comprehensive, and it's something that I know we use the term so often, and just to give a very cursory overview here, the immune system creates a barrier that prevents bacteria and viruses, external pathogens, and there are internal pathogens, of course, that do arise from affecting, and then also the external from entering the body. And we have two types of our immune system. We have our innate immune system, which is present from birth. Get that? We want to be very grateful to moms. Thank you, Mom, because it's that amniotic fluid and that birth canal trip that's very important for giving us a healthy immune system. So the innate immune system is going to detect and destroy without needing to be trained. It's already ready to go. It's always on guard to identify the intruders. Now, the adaptive immune system is something else, and it consists of cells and proteins as well. They're always present, but they are going to wait. They're going to kick in next. So our innate comes in first, and then our adaptive. The adaptive immune system is called into action as well. Normally silent, however, when it's activated, they will get to these infectious agents by activating and proliferating and creating protein mechanisms for neutralizing and eliminating microbes. Adaptive immunity also can prevent those long-lasting infections. They can give us this immunity from measles. Once we had it when we were little, we may be able to be immune from that for our lifetime. Now, in other cases, it does not provide lifetime protection, like with chickenpox. The adaptive system will destroy the invading pathogens and any toxic molecules they produce. However, we can get reinfected. And sometimes it's not able to distinguish from the harmful and the harmless foreign molecules. And that's when we get into some recurring infections like hay fever or asthmas or any other allergies. So we do have both of these working. They're found throughout the body. The cells for both of these are found throughout the body. In the lymphatic system, right? We're going to have our white blood cells coming to us in our lymph fluid. The thymus, the bone marrow, the spleen, the tonsils, on our skin, in our intestinal tract. Lymphocytes and mast cells are very, very present in high concentration. So we really need to have a healthy gut. And there are all sorts of other things that happen with these other microorganisms that are in the gut that are filtering out the necessary nutrients that we need and the water to get it into the bloodstream. But we also have to filter out the unhealthy bacteria and toxins and these chemicals. So we hear a lot about our immune system residing in our gut. Well, it's in lots of places in the body, but there's a very high component that contributes to a healthy immune system in the gut. So it's another reason why we want to have a very healthy gut.
Great. Thank you. What does immune response look like at the cellular level?
Well, I love the cellular level. It's fascinating. One of my very favorite things are mitochondria, but we're not going to talk about those right now. That could be another conversation entirely. In the innate immune system, we've got neutrophils. We've got lots and lots of neutrophils. These are white blood cells. They're going to attack in large numbers. They're the first responders that come out within minutes. They only survive for a couple of days. They use chemical smells to guide them. So they get to the area of infection. They're going to attack the invaders. And they have sacks of toxins, toxic chemicals that are acting as weapons against these microorganisms. Then macrophages. Macrophages are the big eaters. They live in the gut, they live in the lung, they live in the mucosal tissue, and they're going to consume the invaders, or they give an external oxidative burst to kill invaders. And then we have something else. We have the complement cells. This is a series of about 30 proteins that act as chemical red flags, and they are going to mark the pathogens as either non-self or self. So they act as an attractant to the innate immune cells, and they're going to enhance binding of the pathogen for phagocytosis, for the macrophages to eat them up. So we really need all of these, and these are produced in the liver, not often known, but they are produced in the liver. So another reason why we want to have a very healthy liver. The adaptive immune system has highly specialized and systemic cells. And again, they come in after the innate immune system. We've got the lymphocytes, the B cells, the T cells, the effector cells, the memory cells, which are going to remember, and they're going to differentiate between the harmful and harmless. They're going to remember that. So we've got all of these cells that come into play at the cellular level to help us with our immune system.
Very interesting and great information. How does stress either physiologically or psychologically affect the immune system?
in massive ways, massive ways. Every day we're exposed to stressors. We're exposed to physical stressors, mental stressors, environmental stressors. These can be positive as well as negative. Getting a new job, that can be a very positive situation, but it can be very stressful. Moving, getting married. Especially now in the 21st century, we are living a very high stress lifestyle. Human beings and our primate cousins, we get more stress-related diseases than any other member of the animal kingdom. All vertebrates are going to respond to stress in the same way. We're going to have a release of hormones, adrenaline, glucocorticoids. They're going to get our heart rate pumping and our energy going, but we have to reset them, and that is vital to health and well-being. We've got what we call the HPA axis, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenal axis. So we have these glands that get triggered by the prefrontal cortex. That's probably one of the major places that starts all of this. So we have a perceived danger. And again, the emphasis on perceived, because it could be a real danger or not. It could be a rope in the road that we mistake for a snake. Doesn't matter. It could be the lion off in the Serengeti as well. But what's going to happen, that those thoughts, that prefrontal, that awareness is going to trigger the hypothalamus to get to send chemical reactions to the pituitary and then to the adrenals. And this cascade of hormones is going to be released. So we're going to have the adrenaline come first and the norepinephrine, which is a backup to adrenaline, and then other glucocorticoids. And lastly comes the cortisol. Now, adrenaline, it's going to reset faster. Cortisol takes a little bit longer. We hear about cortisol a lot, quite a bit. It's not always a bad thing. It's only a bad thing when we are in a constant chronic state of stress. So in the short term, stress is terrific. It's going to help us run away from the lion. It's going to shut down all the other systems to the body so that we can get the energy we need to our muscles so we can do what needs to be done. We can focus very clearly. We're going to shut down our digestive system, our immune system, our reproductive system, any other cognitive processes that we don't need because they take up all too much energy so that we can focus on this danger that's at hand right now. So that's what happens physiologically. Then we can reset. However, if it's a psychosocial stressor, like we're not getting along with our boss or a mate or the current situation, which is very stressful in so many different ways, we have a continual release of glucocorticoids. They're constantly being released. We're not able to reset them. And now over time, we're going to suppress our immune system. We're going to inhibit growth, especially difficult in our children right now. You've got kids in constant traumatic stress, not post-traumatic stress, it's constant traumatic stress. And there is a dwarfism syndrome that is being seen in our children who are not growing because of this constant traumatic stress. Brain function is going to be affected, reproductive systems, of course. What did our grandmother say? She said, if you want to have a baby, stop thinking about it, right? And then you stop thinking about it and boom, they get pregnant. So again, the adrenals can then eventually shut down. If we go from this hyper state of cortisone and all the other cortisol and the other hormones that are being released, then it's going to lower, and then eventually it can completely shut down, not producing any cortisol at all. We get into a state of adrenal fatigue, which can be life-threatening.
It's great information. How do lifestyle protocols such as mindfulness impact our immune system and our overall health?
Well, we've learned that mindfulness in Western medicine, I'm very happy that there's been more and more clinical trials with mindfulness. I think Dr. John Kabat-Zinn here in the United States, up in Massachusetts, the University of Massachusetts, the hospital up there has done a great deal of work in bringing that into the Western medical and health communities. So this is something that we know clinically, as well as the Dalai Lama. I am a student of the Dalai Lama for the past 50 years, has created a wonderful Mind Life Institute in Virginia and actually studying what does meditation and mindfulness do with our neurological health. There's a great number of neuroscientists from all over the world who are involved in this research. So We want to get into this state of mindfulness, staying present in this moment, not holding on to past stressors, thoughts that of things that have done us wrong in the past or things that have happened that were very stressful, because we know how they're going to affect us in the present. We don't want to anticipate future stressors. These are things that haven't even happened yet, but we can create a mental condition that will create our physiology for things that haven't even occurred yet. Mindfulness keeps us present right here, right now. Now, a very major component of mindfulness is also going to be a commitment to really restful sleep. Because if you don't have enough sleep, it's going to be very hard to be mindful throughout the day. So sleep is a very big part of it. And being able to get that quality sleep can involve a component of a mindfulness practice even before you go to bed. We have to let the glial cells take out the trash at night. We have to let the body restore. There's a crosstalk between the circadian clock and the immune system. So this is very important to get our sleep in a good place, bring in mindfulness. It's a practice that needs diligence. We can start with a simple breathing practice, something we can take with us everywhere we go. It has been shown clinically that deep breaths, right? Taking some deep breaths, it's going to stop the thoughts. We focus on our breath. It's also going to start resetting our hormones, which is really terrific to be able to see that. These are things that have been known in the world medical traditions for thousands of years, and it's wonderful to get the validation in Western science for them. So a simple breathing practice, but it is a practice, just like riding a bicycle. You have to keep practicing. It's easy to get hooked and taken off this present moment by things that it can occur. Another thing that can be done is focusing on visualization, whether it's a beautiful scene at a beach or something that gives you inner joy and happiness, the smile of your child. One-pointed concentration is another mindfulness technique, as well as generating compassion. This is something that's being studied by the neuroscientists in collaboration with many practitioners of meditation around the world in Charlottesville, Virginia. So compassion automatically is going to reset your thoughts into something that's going to be more beneficial and positive, not only for the brain, but for the rest of your body, as we've seen.
Yeah, interesting. There's some research that's been around or has come out recently that links the lack of sleep to increased risk of Alzheimer's.
Truly. Lack of sleep is a big, if I had to choose between food and sleep, it would be tough.
Yeah.
Take away my food or take away my sleep. I know I can survive on water for quite a while, but sleep deprivation is going to do you in much faster in many different ways.
Well, if you look at without food, you could probably survive a number of weeks. Not with the water you need, but
water you need. But I'll tell you,
critical.
sleep deprivation affects all systems of the body. It's so important. You can't heal if you're not sleeping well, and we want to have unfragmented sleep as much as possible.
Yeah. Great stuff. What are some science-based non-pharmaceutical ways we can help support our immune system? Foods and supplements that serve our immune system.
These are things that are so important that we all have access to, which is what I love about this in terms of people co-creating their health with their healthcare providers. There are things that empower individuals to work with the stressors, the internal, the external stressors, as that we're all going to support our immune system. And we always start with healthy whole foods, with an emphasis on vegetables that we hope are locally grown, that haven't come from big farming, because we have a lot of toxins that are sprayed on those things, and that's going to stress the body. We have recent studies that have shown that there have been tiny babies, little kids coming out of the womb with over 300 toxins in their bloodstream that they've gotten from mom, just from her environment and from what she's been eating. So we have to be careful about that. Emphasis will be on vegetables. That should be the majority of your plate. Lots of micronutrients there, vegetables with color, except for the onions and the garlic and the cauliflower. Those are the good white ones. So those are okay. But the rest we want to have, if it stains when you cut it, something easy for people to remember, we're going to have more micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals. Our major protein sources from plants, if we can, with a minor in lean animal protein, fish, chicken, turkey, and lean red meat if we're going to have it. Make sure it's grass-fed and grass-finished. Healthy fats. We do need healthy fats. So we need extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, walnut oils. Complex carbohydrates are very important. fruits with a lower glycemic impact. Fiber-rich foods are very important. Most Americans don't get enough fiber in their diet. Very important for health and for the immune system. And then we want to get rid of those things that are going to affect our immune system and or be stressors on our system, like too much gluten, alcohol consumption, too much salt, white sugars, big no-no, skull and crossbones right there. Processed foods, fried foods, which are very inflammatory and cause other issues with our immune system. Adequate hydration, which we've mentioned. We want to make sure we're drinking enough water, good sleep, good exercise of the right quality for the individual. Everybody has different needs for their types of exercise. And the goal is healthy body composition. It's not about your weight. It's about your body fat. In fact, adipose tissue levels are linked to immune response and immune diseases. Now, there are supplements because our foods are not as healthy as we'd like them to be. A lot of people's guts are not functioning as well as we would like them to function. Tiny kids, of course, their guts are still growing, and a lot of our older folks, their guts are compromised for a number of reasons, a lifetime of issues. So a couple of the things that are very important for our immune system and will help manage these external and internal stressors are going to be beta-glucans. Beta-glucans act as a complement to neutrophils. They are going to help the neutrophils sniff out those pathogens even better. And there's a wonderful proprietary strain called Wellmune that I do recommend to my patients. It's also very, very important with its positive effects on upper respiratory tract symptoms. Vitamin D3 with K2. Most people don't realize that vitamin D is vital for the immune system as well as for lung health. The B complex, talk about stress, you've got to talk about B complex vitamins, not just one or two, they have to work in a complex. And B vitamins are water soluble. It means every time you go to the bathroom, you're going to lose your B vitamins. We do not make B vitamins, so we have to take them. And it's inefficient to get as much as we need from our food. So supplementing is a prudent choice. Probiotics help that healthy gut. Curcumin, which folks may not be aware of, but something to include. Bromelain, good enzymes, good enzymatic activity. In fact, bringing in digestive enzymes into the body, most folks don't have enough and don't realize how important they are for our immune system and dealing with just not just breaking down our foods, but really affecting our immune system. And then having a synergistic protocol of antioxidants. We want to mediate free radical damage, very stressful on the body. We have to have some free radicals, but they have to be in balance. And we want to take care of the oxidative stress. So that's going to compromise both types of immune system if we don't really take care of this oxidative stress. And they work together. So things like CoQ10, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, oligomeric proanthocyanidins, which are bioflavonoids, polyphenols, astaxanthin is a good one, zinc. Zinc is absolutely important for phagocytosis. Selenium, chromium, pycnogenol. So a good multi-mineral, multivitamin that is going to be absorbed, not sent out when we go to the bathroom. It's very important that we look at the absorption of these things. Taking is not the same as absorbing. Right. So having a high quality multivitamin, multimineral, but extra vitamin C, a lot of my work was done with Dr. Linus Pauling. We wouldn't know about vitamin C without Dr. Pauling. So vitamin C is not just the common cold association. What it does on the cellular level is quite important. In fact, there have been some wonderful studies that can be found at the NIH site that shows that vitamin C has shown to be an absolute foundation for managing stress. And this is a simple thing that everybody knows about. It's not a foreign thing, maybe like curcumin or bromelain. We know that we can get high quality vitamin C at a therapeutic dosage into the body. So we want to include all of these things in as needed, working with a health professional who does understand. We're not bioidentical, so right. Everybody's going to have different needs at different times of their lives. But we have so much that we can do ourselves to mitigate the effects of stress in our lives. Dr. Robert Sapolsky, who is one of my great teachers, has a wonderful book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. I recommend everybody read it. The zebra gets dragged away by the lion, but when the lion lets him go, if he's lucky enough, and then runs back to the watering hole, he doesn't tell everybody for days and days and days about the lion that almost ate me. Because every time we replay these stories, we are re-triggering that HPA axis. We are re-triggering these stress hormones to do the damage in the body. So finding those ways to let things be, let them go, learning how to say no as well, being assertive but not aggressive in our behaviors, healthy communication, all of these things with what we've already talked about really are part of a lifestyle protocol, lifestyle medicine to really manage the stressors that are happening at such a high rate in our lives today.
A lot of good information. Is there one thing or a first step that you could perhaps recommend to people that would improve their immune system? How do they get started?
Well, how do they get started? One step at a time, of course. It's identifying what is the major stressor in their life, looking at that and finding a way to manage that. We all have stressors that are going to affect us. So in terms of each individual, it's really looking, what is that? Am I more concerned about how poorly I'm eating? I mean, this is for me a big foundation. Once we start eating better and putting in those good foods and getting rid of the bad foods, it's a domino effect in a good way. This is something that is going to affect our thoughts, as well as our physical being, as well as our ability to exercise, our ability to sleep well, our ability to manage things that come our way. So the foundation is always healthy whole foods and the supplementation that is needed. So we start there first. And if we are focusing on that, perhaps we won't be focusing so much on those other things.
Right.
So we're doing something that's proactive and beneficial. And it is small steps. We can't decide to jump in and change everything right away. We know that's not going to work. That's just more stressful. We don't want to add any more. So we look at one thing at a time in terms of what we're eating and say, okay, today I'm just going to throw out everything that's in a box, that's in my cabinet. And now I'm going to start going to the grocery store with a different grocery list and slowly bringing these things in. We know that it takes at least 30 days to create new habits. So slowly starting with that. And then the other thing that we can work on concurrently is, how are we mentally relating to these things in our lives? A breathing practice is a very simple thing to bring in. So it's not something we hope that will create more stress. So let's talk about whole foods, supplementation, and calming the mind.
Calming the mind is great. So, finally, is there anything you'd like to add about Farmhouse Wellness Center and some of the things that you do there and how you apply some of these things?
Well, I am very happy that you brought that up. Thanks very much. It's the Farmhouse Retreat and Wellness Center. It started really from a very traumatic event in my daughter's life and my life. I am a Vietnam veteran, and I thought that those, issues around gun violence only occurred in a war situation, and my daughter's best friend was shot and killed with the entire family when she was 14 years old. And this was 17 years ago. And it was outside of Philadelphia on the main line. And I got involved in working with the girls who were all 14 years old because there wasn't a lot of support, and this was something they were all thrown into a very stressful situation. The more that I got involved in looking at this, the more I got involved in the prevention of gun violence. My dad was an NRA member, and it was not about, what it's become here in America with 30,000 deaths every year to gun violence. So for 10 years, I was very involved with the Brady campaign for the state of Pennsylvania. I'd crisscross the state and work with communities, with church groups, with schools, individuals, communities in every way, with the state level and the federal level, trying to solve this problem. But the more I talked to people, the more I talked to kids, I saw that they were in this constant state of stress that was affecting their mental health and physical health. And I decided that everybody needs a safe place to heal, a place to create, a place to help solve the problems. So I decided to get a safe place. So it is a 7-acre, about a 320-year-old mill that's been converted. It's a very small organic space, but there's wonderful walks in the woods. It's a very calm, peaceful environment for people to come and heal, come as a family, come as individuals. I do have my wellness practice here, although right now everything's being done on Zoom with very secure protocols. So we still maintain that. So up until this current situation, we would have just folks, kids, families, whatever the need was, come here and I can do consultations with them, or they come and bring their own groups in to work on whatever issues are, and I'm here as an advisor. So it's a space that's available for everybody.
That's great. Sounds wonderful. Well, thanks, Barbara, for taking the time to chat with us today. For more information about Barbara's Foundation, the Farmhouse Retreat and Wellness Center, go to their website, thefarmhouse.org. Thanks for listening. Be sure to look for more installments in this podcast series in the coming weeks. This is Bob Karzewski for RRx HealthWatch. The right dose, saying be healthy, be smart.